Hello, my fellow elbows up Canadians. Once again, the Stanley Cup has failed to return to Canada as it sits in its rightful home of South Florida. All right, I'm kidding. But let's face it, there's only one way that the Stanley Cup is coming back to Canada, and we all know that is down Rue de Saint Catherine in Montreal. Sorry, Leaf fans, put those lawn chairs away. In fact, you might as well sell them because there's no parade coming ever. Well, it's been 4 months since the, benevolent, election of our, wonderfully, qualified leader, Mr. Mark Carney, and, what have we to show for it in this 4 months of national rejuvenation? Well, we have no budget, which arguably is unconstitutional, although there is one planned for the fall, and it's already leaked that the budget deficit will be $96 billion. That's something that Justin Trudeau could only dream about in his idiocy, but Mr. Carney seems to be ready to achieve that. What else have we seen? Well, we see continued ruminations with our friends in the United States and no trade deal, although one is promised for August 1st. We shall see what's in that. Um, we have a middle class tax cut, which was passed without parliamentary approval and equates to $280 per family. I'm sure that's going to pay for the summer vacation. Although we all know that nobody's heading to the border because they're asking you if you like Donald Trump and sending you away if you don't, which of course is sheer idiocy, folks. What they are doing at the border is they are checking actual facts. So people who are being turned away have criminal records or were in the United States illegally in the first place have not been able to pass in. So the instances of people being turned around because they don't adhere or genuflect to Donald Trump is exactly zero. Um, there is a $70 billion warrant package, so spending without any authorization from Parliament. That's gone through. And of course, no investigations of things like the Green Slush Fund, the other Randy, all of the other myriad of liberal scandals that gave us 10 years of malaise and moral decrepitude. The immigration situation continues to be horrible. Though they said they are clamping down and are going to reduce the number of people coming to Canada, some 800,000 people have made it here in the first 6 months of the year. Clearly, what they are saying and what they are doing are two different things. Crime remains unchecked. In my beautiful city of Hamilton, a wonderful woman was shot dead, an innocent bystander, the other day while the killer walks free. And this is going on across the country. And of course, our just system, which is packed full of liberal political appointees and social justice warriors, are basically creating a turnstile where arrested supposed felons are being turned out that very day. Not so much for law and order, although let's just remember that all of us legal law-abiding gun owners are in fact threats to national security. So the noise about confiscation of firearms continues. So folks, nothing has changed. You have clearly a man who's competent and qualified for the jobs, although I would argue that there are certain house pets that are more qualified than Justin Trudeau ever was. So kudos to the Liberal Party for installing this man. And more importantly, kudos to the vast electorate that decided that Donald Trump was an existential threat to the country. And as a result, we have reelected the Liberal Party. Well, we all know what that's like. That's like changing your shirt after you've crapped your pants. Well done, Canada. Look at the folks that he has to deal with. So even if Mr. Carney is Herculean and can work 24 hours a day, you have to look at the team he has. Now he has a couple of competent ministers. I'll give you that. Dominic LeBlanc is competent. His finance minister seems to be competent, although I don't know how one gets a mortgage from the Bank of China. I really have to find out. And his energy minister, former head of Ontario Hydro, seems to be pretty competent. There's been some things that look good. The passage of C5, which is sort of an enabling act for national projects, that makes sense, but what are they? And of course, then he's surrounded by the Trudeau baggage. So Stephen Gibault, who comes out of central casting for a French Revolution movie, still is now in charge of Canadian culture, which means telecom, and internet content. So when they come for you because you have not passed the liberal social credit test, that's Monsieur Petit Stephen who is responsible for that. Sean Fraser, who is the poster child for incompetent, is now the Minister of Justice. I believe he's practiced law for 5 years, and it continues. And then, of course, our Minister of Public Safety, who had to recuse himself because he had in the past written nice things about organizations that have been listed as terrorist organizations in Canada. Well done, Mr. Carney. Perhaps one needs to not check the box and go out and get competent people. I think Canadians would sleep better if you did that. Now, when we look at our ongoing trouble with Mr. Trump, or whether that is real or not, we've got to look at what is Mr. Trump talking about. He's increased the tariff on steel coming from Canada to 50%. Now, certainly this is part of the ongoing trade negotiations. Apparently, we're supposed to have a deal by August 1st. But is there something to this? Canadians like to react and think that this is a vacuum, that he's just a petulant orange ogre who holds his breath and stomps and demands things. No, if you look at what Trump is saying, what his advisors are saying, and I sincerely recommend you read No Trade is Free by Robert Lighthizer, who's the former trade representative in the first Trump administration, you're going to see the underlying reasons for their negotiation tactics and this tariff policy. Canada does not produce high grade steel. It produces things that are fine for buildings and bridges, but some of the very specialized metallurgical steel is produced abroad. What Canada does is it processes a lot of steel, and a lot of this is coming in from China. This happened in the first Trump administration. It has happened for years. And hey, listen, there's no problem in dealing with China as a trading partner, but they're famous for dumping, and that is what they're doing. And Mr. Trump is reacting to it. So when Canadians get indignant thinking that he's out to get us, no, look at where this stuff started. And remember, David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, who, in my humble opinion, is the single worst Premier in the country, just allowed BC Ferries to sign a shipbuilding contract with China. You don't think they could produce that in North Vancouver or Halifax and bring it through the canal? I don't know. I think we can, but that contract needs to be canceled, and we need to look at really what are the root causes of Mr. Trump's positions. Um, Clearly, steel is of overwhelming strategic importance to the United States. The recent White House intervention in the U.S. Steel, Nippon Steel deal, which basically had it become a U.S. company or under U.S. control, or at least White House control, is testament to that. Um, the U.S. has just initiated an office of shipbuilding because that had fallen off in years. So clearly, steel is front and center. Once again, Canada should get with the program and understand 85% of our economy is integrated with the United States. And were we to improve productivity and improve our overall security and drop a lot of this elbows up stuff, I think Canadian steel in an integrated North American market will do extremely well. What else are the Americans complaining about? Well, Mr. Trump has made prominent and regular mention of dairy. And we all know that Canadian supply management, which gives us things like $8 butter, really is a sop to about 10,000 farmers in Quebec, which we lovingly refer to as the Quebec Dairy Cartel, and that Mr. Trump is demanding an end to that. Now, Canadian folks, you need to understand when you go into Loblaws or Metro or Sobeys and you're paying $8 for butter, really is that an expression of your elbows up Canadian identity? No, you're getting fleeced. And I think it's high time for the consumer in this country to come first. If we get rid of supply and management, does that mean it's the end of dairy farming in Canada? Absolutely not. We can look to history to see where policy has been like this has been implemented and implemented successfully. New Zealand did away with supply management before the Ardern years, and what ended up happening was there was a transitional fund to make sure farmers were taken care of. And what became the number one export from New Zealand? It's not lamb and wool, folks, it's dairy products. So the model is there for Canadian dairy farmers to become artisanal, to improve productivity, and to flourish. We just simply have to give it a try. Now, all things are not the fault of the Liberal Party. We've gone through an election, and our dear friends in the Conservative Party have some blame to shoulder as well. Whatever way Mr. Polyev wants to spin it, he lost that election. That was the most winnable election in my political life. And quite frankly, though he got more seats and the percentage of the vote sort of held, he got shellacked. He should be in government. He ran a terrible campaign. He has failed to fire Jenny Byrne, the completely incompetent campaign manager. And I think conservatives, bedrock conservatives like myself, need a very public firing for us to once again believe in Mr. Polyev. He has to make himself relevant again. And I'm not sure if he can do that. Now, here's just a thought. As a student of Canadian history and a passionate Canadian, my family's been in this country for over 400 years. Despite the fact that many people think that I don't love this country, you're quite wrong. I do. I loved this country 10 years ago, and we need to go back there. So what I think we need in the Conservative Party and a groundswell in the electorate is to ask one Right Honorable Stephen J. Harper to come back as Winston Churchill did for one more term. Bring men and women of supreme gravitas with you and fix the country. There might even be a few liberals in the lot, but I don't think right now the conservative leadership or their campaign team is up to it. We look at what else is ailing Canada. Again, we can go about policy, but folks, it's the electorate itself. It's the fundamental inability of Canadians to think critically. And why? Because to be inelegant, they are mushrooms. They are kept in the dark and fed shit. Canadians have lost sense of any education. They don't know their country. They don't know its history. They're taught victimology. My own law school, which my first law school, at John A. Macdonald Hall, they took the name down. They haven't been able to find a new one, but this is in Kingston, Ontario. And we see this across the country where he's been, vilified. Again, go read Richard Wynn's 2 volumes on John A. You'll find he was a very great Canadian. He's the father of Confederation and needs to be celebrated. We have at every turn eschewed what is good about Canadian history and replaced it by this amalgam of Vercock victimology. I mean, if you were to walk into a grade 9 class today and ask them, who's Winston Churchill? Who's Wilfrid Laurier? Who's Mackenzie King? They're going to stare back at you with blank faces. Ask them what Vimy Ridge is. Vimy Ridge should be a national holiday. We have all kinds of holidays for all kinds of wonderful causes, but not the day that Canadian troops under Canadian command took the high ground at Vimy and won on the field of honor, uh, really created the birth of this country. We don't celebrate it. We don't know about it. It's time to discover our institutions and our history and to celebrate them again. We have to be able to critically think. We have to ask, why are these things happening? Is this policy good for us? You have to ask yourself that I hope people did during the election, but somehow with our quizzling paid for media managed to self-delude. Are you better off today than you were 10 years ago? By no measure are you. Canada has suffered a demonstrable and clear decline in its economic ability, its economic state, and its standard of living. This is undeniable, and Canadians need to get with it. When they complain about not wanting to go to the United States, it's not because they're afraid of crossing the border. It's because the Canadian dollar has become the northern peso, and it needs to stop. So when we go and look at our wonderful elbows up facade and start talking about building our own, well, we have to ask, what do we make? Well, we make a lot of things that go into stuff, but zero. We're not really standing on our own. The future of Canada is improved productivity, restored national respect and purpose, and full integration into a North American economy. And on that happy note, folks, we have developed and have available merch. So we now have Leviathan Must Be Stopped hats. And if I can, in multiple sizes, Leviathan Must Be Stopped t-shirts. So check out trevorparry.com and we'd be happy to send them to you. With that, have a great rest of the summer and hopefully we'll see you in time for our fall budget. Don't hold your breath. There won't be any surprises or wonderful good policy in it.